We're back for the next departmental budget discussion this year, and don't see any council members with us, but I do want to introduce Talia Lomax O'Neill, who is the city's finance director, who's to my left, and Emily Pacini, who's the chief of staff here in the mayor's office to my right. And before we start, just a couple of things about last year's budget. I know you both remember last year's budget was unique in many circumstances, including the fact that we didn't have all the revenue that we wanted to have to do all the things we wanted to do as a city. Nevertheless, we tightened our belts and lived within our means last year. And that, in conjunction with some revenue growth this year, has provided us with the resources to do a 3% cost of living adjustment, including the steps and open range increases that our employees, our co-workers really deserve. So we're glad that we'll be able to do that this year. You're allowed to do that. She's the judge. She can do whatever. Our next budget presentation today is a joint presentation from the juvenile court judge, Sheila Calloway, and from the juvenile court clerk, Lionel Matthews. So thank you both for coming, and I'll let you all divide your time up however you have agreed to do so. Even if you had agreed otherwise.
And we do go together, should I?
Yes.
We go together. Okay. I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you, Mayor Briley, for this opportunity. And it's been a pleasure working with your staff, with Ms. Talia and Richie Swagger. And we are excited about the things that are going to happen. I know my staff is super excited about the 3% increase that they will be receiving. We have gone without for a while. One of the cost savings that we did that was asked was we had a couple of positions that we did not fill, and so our employees have been doing a superb job of filling in those spots, particularly in our intake division and our probation support and intervention and accountability team, and they've done an amazing job. And so we just thank you for that increase. To get down to the business of why we're here today, there are very few things that we are asking for. What we are asking for, what we need, is a total request of $475,000. And that increase for our budget for next year is only for the cost that it takes us to run our detention facility. If you remember, last year we asked for a amendment of the contract. Originally, we had contracted for 32 beds in our detention facility at a particular price, and our contractor is with Youth Opportunity Investment. We had averaged around 32 for many years and thought that that was going to be appropriate for us to do. And I will make sure that you understand, and I know you do, that we only house those in our detention facility who are pre-trial, waiting on their trial date, and who we find that are a risk to the community if we were to release them. And so that's the only children that we hold. There came a time where that number was no longer averaging about 32, and instead it was averaging about 40. And so we did a contract renegotiation for that 40 beds. And although we asked for the money to cover the contract negotiations last year, we were not able to fill that because of the awkwardness of the last year's budget. And so we are asking for that amount of money to make sure that we are covering the actual contracted amount that we have agreed to for the 40 beds, and that's the $355,600. And on top of that, when we first negotiated our contract with Youth Opportunity Investments, there was a 3% cost escalator for a year, and so each year the cost to run the detention facility for each child increases. And so for this year, that increases from $291.30 a day to $299.29 per day, for a total of $119,400. And so that's the cost of the $475,000 that we're asking for to cover the cost of our detention facility and the kids that we keep in there. I will say that our relationship with Youth Opportunities Investments is great. They provide a lot of wonderful services for our kids. They do restorative practices in there. They have the arts program. We work with Metro Arts and their restorative arts, and they bring in lots of different programmings from yoga to actual creative arts to visual and audio arts. And they're working with our youth on a regular basis. We have a top-notch school program in there as well, where they're getting the best education. They're catching up on a lot of their credits so that when they transition out of detention, they can transition back into our school system with very little problems. And there's a lot of good things that are going on in our detention facility. Unfortunately, we have too many children in there, and we're working. I know we've sat before and talked about what we've got to do as a community to help get those numbers back down and help our youth to not commit those offenses that will hold them in detention. And so we're working hard to solve some solutions and bring some more information to you so that we can, as a community, do more on our youth violence issues. Thank you.
We'll come back at the end and ask some questions, I'm sure.
All right.
Like Judge said, we don't have any mandatory requests in our budget requests for an increase this year or improvement in our budget. We are hoping to get our e-filing system on point. As you've heard from some of the other clerk's office earlier today, we are the last phase of that project, and so we will begin our phase at the beginning of April. We will probably be about a year from going live with our phase, but we will have the fortune of being able to learn from the builds from the circuit court and the criminal court clerk's office. And so hopefully we'll be able to take the builds that have already happened in their phases, be able to adjust them for juvenile court and get that up and running. That should actually provide us some cost savings on some of our paper costs in the office with e-filing. And we are looking at updating our file system in terms of barcoding. We are looking at implementing online or web payments for court costs, which we don't accept now, so hopefully that helps us with collections. In addition to taking advantage, and we're going to take advantage of the Metro-wide contract with MSB in order to do that, but also taking advantage of the Metro-wide contract with our copier server too, so that we could reduce maintenance costs on our equipment. And so we're looking at every corner and crevice to be able to try to be as efficient as we can with our operations and with the budgets that you've allowed us.
Not at this time.
Let me see. Yeah, I just think you guys do great work down there. I really do. I guess I'm just thinking this is more of a programmatic question than it is a financial question.
Okay.
Just around the census. What do we do as a community to reverse that trend? I don't know what the answer to that is, but
Right.
what is that thing that needs to happen?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I think Lionel and I have worked together on these issues for many years. First with the Youth Task Force, Youth Violence Task Force, and we've worked some with Mayor Briley as well, sitting and talk about some of the solutions that we need to make for this. You know, it's a systematic problem. It includes us. It includes Metro Police. It includes our school system, and so in our health department, and we all sit and we collaborate and try to figure out what is the key. There are several things that I know programmatically that we could do better as a community, and I always stress that it's not just about those government entities that I named, but it's about communities coming together. I know Lionel just met this Saturday with a group of community advocates for children about how we can fit them in and how they can be a part of it. We meet once a month with a group of pastors and let them know things that they can do. If we as a community were able to fill the time for youth between 2 o'clock after school lets out to 8, 9 p.m. with community centers and things that are open in every neighborhood, we would do a huge job on reducing some of the issues, because a lot of times that we see our youth that come in there, they're coming in because they don't have anything to do, they're bored, or they were kicked out of school, and they're just biding their time. And so we've got to be able to, as a community, to successfully give them positive alternatives to do when they're not in school time. And it's a concerted effort that we have to work together. I think, we also have to recognize that there are mental health issues that our children are facing. A lot of our kids are suffering through adverse childhood experiences, and it's a issue that we've got to work on from 0 on up until we get a good wrap on them. That's why we are so excited about our new Safe Babies Court, so that we're working with our 0 to 3 when they're experiencing trauma of being abused or neglected at an early age. That we're helping them to develop emotionally in order to form attachments and to be successful. We love working with groups like The Gang, with Bishop Marcus Campbell, who are working with our youth who are identified gang members, helping them to get out of the gangs and into some positive activities. We have wonderful working relationships with the Oasis Center, particularly the REAL program, Reaching Excellence as Leaders, and helping our youth who are going off track to get back on the right track and see in different positive ways. But those are just like a handful of programs that we have. We have an Epic Girl program for the girls that are going off track as well, so we never want to leave them out as well. And those are a handful of programs, and we've worked on it with Mayor Briley, Lionel, and I, and other folks of trying to do our best way to let communities and families know what programs that we have already in place, and then where the gaps are and what we need, and how we need to fill those gaps. And so if more information is out there, so when a parent has some struggles with their child, or they have to work until 5 and their child gets out of school at 2:30, and they've got nothing to fill that gap, that we're able to give them that information on where these gaps can be filled and do things. I'm a big proponent of Opportunity Now for the summertime. If we can get every child to sign up for the 80-something thousand jobs that are available, that keeps them busy, that keeps them working, and keeps money in their pocket, and less likely to get into some trouble. I know Lionel's got some probably other things that he thinks is
the only thing that I'll add the judge hadn't said is that we do need to put more focus in the fact that this is a manageable problem for our city. We're talking in regards to serious crime that happens, or serious offenses. We're talking maybe 600 to 1,000 kids. You put that in perspective of the 86,000 that we have in our school system, and we're talking almost 0.7% of our kids that we really need to focus some attention on and really figure out why are they falling through the cracks, and how do we fill in those gaps and make sure that we are providing those services to that population that needs them most. They're the most vulnerable. And I think we could do it. We look forward to working with Mayor Briley on coming up with solutions, on convening the community, and really trying to promote collaboration. We need to make sure that our methods are evidence-based, and that we are following where the data tells us to go, and that we're being responsible with the resources. We put a lot of resources into our young people in this city outside of Metro Schools. Metro Schools, of course, is almost half of the city's budget, but outside of Metro Schools, we still put a lot of resources into young people. So making sure those resources are going to the best place or the best programs to get the better results for our young people.
And there's one other thing I was going to say, one other thing I will add to that, and this is probably not the best time to talk about it, but for us as an institution, having a building that is able to supply the needs that we have. If we had a place that we can do a 24-hour assessment of our youth and a respite center, then the youth that come through that legally we can't hold in a detention facility because the charges, like a runaway child, we cannot by law hold them in a detention facility. But if we were able to have a 24-hour assessment center with a respite center on top of that, then we'd have the opportunity to, first and foremost, assess their risk to the community, take the time to assess their needs, and then if it's a situation where the parent's not quite ready to be able to take him back, or the child's not ready to follow the rules of their house without disrupting, and we don't think that they need to go into the Department of Children's Services custody, they just need some time to talk to some counselors, to work through some programs, that we'd have that facility right there, right then, that we could serve our community that way. And so that's one of those things that we look forward to at the appropriate time, talking to the council and the mayor about making sure that we are getting the funding for a facility that would be able to address all of the needs that we have.
I'm familiar with that conversation. I think we talked about it when I came to visit the detention facility you currently have. So the city's lucky to have both of you at juvenile court. I think in the years to come, it's clear to me that as a community we need to invest more in the work you're doing, and the city should have a high level of confidence that the money will be put to good use and pay big dividends for not just the kids who are getting helped, but for the entire community. So, not a great year for adding new stuff this year. You understand that. That's why you came like you did. But just I hope you understand and appreciate that the city appreciates the hard work y'all are doing, and we intend to invest in y'all in the coming years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.